Your audio is going to be messed up. Our whole system just went haywire.
Hello. I think. Maybe. We'll see if it's actually working now. Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. Of course, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. But at the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code PHLY365. Deposit just $10. Place a bet for just $5. Get $150 back in bonus bets, whether your bets win or loses. Hello to you all. Sorry about that. My laptop was playing audio. I think we're good. Andrew, we cool?
I think we're good.
All right.
I got sound. I'm hearing you through my headset.
That's live audio for you, folks.
Yeah,
hello to everybody, and welcome into MLB Trade Deadline Eve. It is a little more than 30 hours until, or I guess just under 30 hours at this point until the Major League Baseball trade deadline. A couple of smaller moves have been made today. We'll talk a little bit more about them, and we get you closer and closer to the final hours of the Major League Baseball trade deadline, and I will be interested to see what Dave Dombrowski and the Philadelphia Phillies are capable of doing. Because I think what they're capable of doing and what they're actually going to do may prove to be two very, very different things. And that's kind of where we're going to begin today's show. Normally, so for a little bit behind the scenes, normally when we do a show here at PHLY, at least in terms of the Philly show, I can only speak for the shows that I'm a part of. And Andrew, you can attest to this as well. We use a website that allows us to put all of our rundowns together, right? So Andrew can see it, I can see it. Everybody who has access to our accounts can see it. And when we do our rundowns on the show, typically, Andrew, you can attest to this, I probably write too much when it comes to our rundowns.
I like the too much.
And the reason I say I probably write too much is because I've always been a big believer, and this is when I came from radio, where I've always been a big believer in whatever length of time your show is, you should have an additional segment's worth of content available. So when I used to do 4 hours in radio, I always prepped as if I was doing a 5-hour show, just in case. Because some things work and some things don't. When I do this podcast format for an hour, I usually prep about an hour and a half's worth of content just in case. Now, as Andrew can attest to today, our website that we normally use is blank. And the reason that it's blank is because I wanted this to be a little bit more of a gut check episode, a feel episode, if you will. Now, of course, we're going to do our normal stuff. We'll have our mystery trade, our final mystery trade segment of the day. We'll get to our big deal segment, and we'll do our typical normal stuff. But the reason that I didn't write a whole lot into our rundown today was because I want to know how you're feeling. And I want to know how Andrew's feeling, and I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling as we get to just over 24 hours away from the trade deadline. And the reason that I said, I think what the Phillies are capable of and what the Phillies are going to do might be two different things. What the Phillies are capable of doing is hitting a home run and taking a massive swing in the next 30-ish hours and acquiring not just one really good player, but potentially multiple really good players, whether that be a Eugenio Suarez and a bullpen piece, two bullpen pieces, an outfielder and a bullpen piece. I think the Phillies have the capability and the capacity to make some sizable, substantial moves to make this team as good as it possibly can be heading into a postseason run. Moves that if they make and they're able to pull off, and if you forget the care about the future and the farm system for just a moment, moves that they're potentially able to make that could not only make them World Series contenders, but possibly National League World Series favorites. That's how good they can be. Because as Anthony and VG and Andrew talked about today, and I know we're going to hear from Anthony and Bob Nightingale in a little bit, as those guys talked about today, the National League is open. There are some very good teams in the National League. The Dodgers, the Mets, the Brewers continue to play good baseball. The Chicago Cubs. There are some very, very good teams in the National League. But no team right now, with the plethora of injuries that the Dodgers have faced, with the uncertainties of the Chicago Cubs starting rotation, with the uncertainties surrounding the bottom of the Mets lineup, Now, those teams could all make big moves as well. They are in prime position to make equal big moves this trade deadline as well. But with all of that being said, there is a pathway for the Phillies to become legitimate World Series front-running type contenders with the right kind of move. And with the right kind of moves, plural. Now, with that being said, I feel, looking back at what we looked at yesterday and Dave Dombrowski's last couple of trade deadlines, how they've spoken about internal candidates, meaning you need to get more from guys internally, whether it was talking about getting Bryce Harper going, which they have, talking about getting Brandon Marsh going, who's been better as of late. Whatever the internal candidacy conversation was, I'm getting the sense that the Phillies are going to make offers in big-time deals, and I feel like I'm going to be left a little bit underwhelmed. And I don't say that to be like Mr. Doom and Gloom. I don't say that just, 25 hours, 26 hours, 27 hours removed from the trade deadline. But I think that they're looking at the farm system in a unique way this year. And the reason that they're looking at the farm system in a unique way this year is because they recognize that 2027 is kind of the end of this collective group as we know it. And not because a lot of the big-time names are going to be off the team, but you will see the departure of Zach Wheeler, Nick Castellanos. Kyle Schwarber will probably be on a new deal, but will be 36 at the time. JT Realmuto may be here, maybe won't be. What does the future hold for Alec Bohm? What does the future hold for Ranger Suarez? What does the future hold for Jesus Luzardo? And what does the bullpen look like? And so with all of that being said, I think that the Phillies are looking at their farm system and saying, we know that we have an opportunity to win, but we're going to do it at the cost effectiveness that we believe is enough to keep our future in check. And what I mean by that is, if they can go get a closer or a high leverage setup guy, right? If they can get a Griffin Jax, a Ryan Helsley, a Pete Fairbanks, and not give up what they would have to give up, rumored at least, for Jhoan Duran, who the Twins have said they've asked for 2 top 100 level candidate prospects. For David Bednar, who the Pirates have said they're asking for a top 5 player in your top 5 prospect in your farm system in exchange for David Bednar. I think what the Phillies are going to look to do is try to get better without entirely mortgaging the future. And I think for a lot of Phillies fans, you're going to, if that were to be the case, you would be left frustrated because we talked about it yesterday on our video. The last 4 deadlines that the Phillies have had, now not all of them have come at the expense of like the Phillies are true World Series contenders, because in 2021, they weren't ready quite yet. They missed the playoffs. 2022, they were getting there, but maybe they weren't quite there yet. So it's really been the last 2 that you would hyperfixate on. But the last 4 trade deadlines that the Phillies have put together, if you ask me who the most impactful trade deadline piece the Phillies have acquired over the last 4 seasons, I would probably tell you it's Brandon Marsh. I might tell you that it was Carlos Estevez last year in terms of what was expected of him and them making a stretch run because they were a team that was starting to come down to earth after the torrid start that they opened up the year in April and May with. But I think that it's fair to say that the Phillies trade deadlines over the last couple of years have been underwhelming. And I think a lot of Phillies fans, I don't know if it's you in the chat, I don't know if it's Andrew, I don't know who's listening out there. A lot of Phillies fans are sitting here saying, Dave, it's time to make the move. It's time to make the big swing. It's time to get over the hump and make that push, knowing that your window is finite. The problem with that is, and I think the problem that a lot of teams are going to face, and I think the Phillies are going to be the team that maybe faces it more than any, is that the asking price for these relievers specifically is astronomical. The asking price prior to what has happened over the last 2 weeks was very, very high. But over the last 2 weeks, Felix Bautista hits the IL. He's no longer available, or presumably no longer available. And Emmanuel Clase gets I don't know. Are we using the word suspended? Non-disciplinary paid leave, but like you could probably use the word suspended, right?
I think heading in that direction.
Heading in that direction. And if he does truly get connected with, truly gets connected with gambling, then we may be talking about an indefinite suspension.
I think he pitched his last ball.
It's certainly plausible that Emmanuel Clase never pitches again in the major leagues. But Andrew, with those two things that have happened over the last 2 weeks, we talked about it weeks ago. The cost of doing business for some of these high leverage relievers is already going to be high. It's just gotten higher over the last two weeks because of Bautista being injured and because of the Clase, situation. So I find myself feeling that Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies front office are going to do everything that they can to make this baseball team better. And I think at the same time, they have prospects in their head that they will not balk from moving from. And if they're the asking price, if it's the Painter, and again, I've given my guys, but I don't know how Dombrowski feels. I think we can all agree it's probably not going to be Painter. He pitched today, so I think that gives you a pretty good indication that they plan on keeping him. But whether you feel it's Crawford, Taiit, Miller, whomever, Escobar, whomever you think it is, and whomever they think it is, I think they've got a couple of guys in mind that they're not going to move. Yeah. And if those are the guys that get asked for in exchange, they'll go to the next tier down.
Yeah. I mean, I think they know. I think Dombrowski and Middleton both know that they need to make a big splash here in this trade deadline to move the needle for not just the team, but for the fans. Because, obviously our video yesterday talking about Dombrowski and his history here in Philadelphia and his moves that he's made, towards the trade deadline have not been great. I
used the word underwhelming quite a bit yesterday.
Underwhelming, yeah.
And I think that's probably
a great way.
Because they've made some moves that we've used the term in a vacuum a lot. And what I mean when I say that is if you strip away actual life and you just put this in through a simulation, acquiring Carlos Estevez was a good move.
Yes.
You needed a back-end bullpen guy. You got a back-end bullpen guy. You've heard me on this show plenty. I talk about how much I like Tanner Banks. I think getting Tanner Banks was a good move.
Yeah,
he's gotten
definitely
better since that acquisition.
Certainly has.
But, I think for a team that has World Series aspirations, the last couple of years of Austin Hayes, Tanner Banks, Michael Lorenzen, who else? They made one other small move. I think for a lot of fans, underwhelming has been the theme of Dave Dombrowski's tenure for a guy who has a history of going scorched earth everywhere he goes.
Yeah. And they know that. And both Middleton and him know that, and I think they have their finger on the temperature of the fans, and they know what the fans want. They know what they need to achieve in order to get to that next step. Middleton, how many years ago was it? 2 years ago? You get my damn trophy back?
Yep.
The guy wants to win.
He's the same guy that used the phrase stupid money.
Yeah, exactly. So I think now they may be a little hesitant to get rid of all their prospects in order to achieve that goal to bring somebody in. But who knows? I mean, the market is the market right now. It was reported that the Yankees said that to get Eugenio Suarez, all they needed to do was give away, an MLB-ready player. They had to give away a AAA player and somebody else. And that's not a big asking price for somebody like him. That I can see that happening here.
And with the Suarez thing, and I've kind of been reserved on Suarez. I'm not against Suarez. If the argument is about the defense, your defense is going to get worse. There's no question about it. But if the argument is the defense, to add a guy who's on pace to hit 50 home runs, I think you probably have to just figure that out.
Yeah.
It's not something that I love. I don't love Schwarber going back to left field. I don't love the idea of if Bohm gets healthy and he's not a part of that trade, right, then moving Bohm to first and Harper back to the outfield. But I will say this. You talked about the MLB ready player. And I don't know how we've talked about the rib injury with Alec Bohm. Mm-hmm. At this point, when you're thinking about a major league ready player, and we talked about Alec Bohm at the beginning of the season, there was a justification for bringing Alec Bohm back, monetarily made sense. Whether you love Alec Bohm, you hate Alec Bohm, you're somewhere in the middle. monetarily, it made sense to bring a major league everyday third baseman, guy coming off an all-star season, back for, what's he making, like $12 million this year or something. It's a really reasonable ask for an everyday third baseman. You're now to a point where you're talking about flipping a guy with a year and a half left of control for a half a year of control.
Yeah.
Right? So now you're thinking about if that's the major league ready player, if it is an Alec Bohm that they're interested in taking back, you're giving up a year of control at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That becomes way more palatable than if you said it was a guy who had like 3 years of arbitration left, right?
Sure.
If you said, even before the All-Star appearance, if you said to me they're going to try to move Bohm plus for a half a year of Suarez, I'd probably say no for 3 years of team control. For a year and a half, especially not knowing how severe the injury it possibly could be, that becomes more palatable to me, knowing that if he's the MLB player that they want, I think you maybe think to find a way to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. The Class A stuff, obviously, I think has changed the market a lot for relievers right now. And I think teams are definitely saying, hey, we can, now that he's kind of out of the bidding, that we can up the price on some of these guys. And so many teams are looking for a relief pitcher. It's going to be tough to find that player. Hey, we just have to wait and see, right? We only got less than 24 hours.
Yeah, you got a little bit more than a day, right? Yeah. And reminder, by the way, for those that didn't get a chance to hear, we will be live tomorrow, 5 to 7 for the trade deadline special. Myself, Andrew will be here as well. We'll be with Rich Hoffman. We'll be bringing you all the latest news around the hot stove. If the Phillies make any moves between the end of this show and the beginning of tomorrow's show, we'll hit you with an emergency pod like we always do. So just be prepared. Andrew and I are going to be kind of on call for the next, 30-ish hours or so.
We will be, yep.
All right, so let's pause for a moment. On the other side, Bob Nightingale joined Anthony this morning, and I want you to hear what Bob Nightingale had to say when it comes to the bullpen conversation, because I think, Andrew, I know that we've talked about Eugenio Suarez a lot. I know we talked about an outfield a lot. I think the feel that I'm getting, and the feel that I think a lot of the major, baseball scribes and pontificators are getting, is if the Phillies are going to go for broke, it's going to be in the bullpen.
Yeah, I feel like that's.
And I want you to hear from Bob Nightingale on with Anthony earlier this morning. It was a great segment with Anthony, VG, Bob. So I want to have you hear from him in just a moment. We'll also get to our final mystery trade player of the day. And at the end of the show, drop a comment now. You can do it now, but we'll talk about it at the end of the show. Andrew will follow along if you could just star them or something. We'll keep them in line.
Yep.
I want you to leave 2 comments. The first comment I want you to leave is, who do you want the Phillies to acquire within reason, right? If you were to say, hey, the Phillies, I want the Phillies to get Shohei Ohtani, right? Not a real plausible thing.
I think we all do.
Within reason, within the scope of the trade deadline, who do you want the Phillies to acquire? And then the second question is, who do you think, objectively, if you truly looked internally and said, I believe the Phillies trade deadline will look like this, who do you think the Phillies will end up acquiring at the trade deadline? We'll talk about that at the end of the show as well. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll be right back after this. All right, let's tell you about Bet365. Some of our friends here have found out why, and 90 million users worldwide have found out why, that Bet365 is the premier and pioneer live in-game betting place to play. You can live stream over 780,000 events each year across 78 different sports. So it's not just your Big Four or college hoops or college football. You can pretty much get live in-game action on just about anything across the world. I've seen cricket on there. I've seen Australian rules football on there before. If you're interested, maybe you're a night owl who wants to watch something halfway around the world, get some live action in on the game. You can do it with our friends over at Bet365. And new customers right now Get $150 back in bonus bets when you bet $5, whether your bet wins or loses. So sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for just $5 to get $150 back in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. You can use that bonus bet money on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. You must be 21 and physically located in PA if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help. Please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let me tell you about the pros when it comes to flooring. That, of course, is our friends over at Empire Today. And just like your favorite team needs a home field advantage as they get closer and closer to the postseason, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you with that. They're the flooring experts who are dedicated flooring professionals that focus on flooring each and every day. Why choose Empire Today? Well, they're the best bet for your new floors because they live and breathe floors and they will be with you every step of the way. It just feels like an entirely different ball game when you work with Empire. Their flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. You're going to see exactly how your new style of flooring, whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, whatever, is going to look in your home with your furniture in your space. And of course, you can get precise measurements taken. They're going to come in. They're going to answer all of your questions professionally with the most just utmost honesty and straightforwardness that they can provide. And speaking of straightforward and honest, Empire Today offers clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing, and you can schedule an installation as soon as the next day. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners can receive a $350 discount when they use the promo code PHLY. Restrictions do apply. Visit EmpireToday.com/PHLY for full details. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zula here, Andrew Frazier with us. It is just over 24 hours until the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Couple of moves have been made today so far. Just trying to get you the most recent one is that the Angels and Nationals are flipping a pair of relievers. The Nationals will send Andrew Chafin to the Angels in exchange for former Philly and former Phillies barber Luis Garcia. So the Angels are loading up and acquiring Garcia, who I believe is this the third time that Luis Garcia has been an Angel? It's definitely the second. But they're sending Luis Garcia to the Angels in exchange for Andrew Chafin. The Yankees acquired Austin Slater earlier today from the Chicago White Sox, so he's going to be out of the lineup for the White Sox, assuming that they play, because weather has been indicated that the weather is going to be kind of gross. Adrian Hauser has been scratched from his start from the White Sox, hasn't been traded, but he's not going to start. Tyler Alexander will start in his place. So for a team in the Phillies who, let's call it for what it is. The White Sox still stink. They're a much better team than they were last year. They're a really scrappy bunch. I think Will Venables had the team playing pretty hard. As they were saying on the broadcast last night, he holds them accountable. It's a good young group. I really like Edgar Caro. Kyle Teal is with them as well. They have two really good pitching prospects. Chase Mydroth is going to be a good player. Colson Montgomery is going to be a good player. But they're not ready to compete just yet. The Phillies need to win this series and take 2 out of 3. And there's a chance that the White Sox lineup might look a whole lot different today than it did the last couple of days. Slater's already out of the lineup. There's talks that Hauser may be traded, may not be, but still, I think the White Sox are probably still going to look to make moves and send some of their veterans for more prospects as they continue their rebuild. Taijuan Walker on the mound for the Phillies today, assuming the weather holds up in Chicago. I think the Phillies need to win this one today. I think the Phillies, stack as many series wins as you possibly can. But with this one specifically, I think the Phillies, really need to take this one today. All right. Let's get to our big deal segment of the day, which, of course, is brought to you, as always, by our friends at Cherry Hill Jeep. You can head on over to all of the bridges or shop cherryhilljeep.com for all of the great exclusive offers that they are going to provide to you. And, of course, get on over to any of the bridges in Cherry Hill. It's just a couple minutes away from Philly and most of Philly suburbs. So you can head on over to Cherry Hill. I know people buy Jeeps elsewhere. I'm just not entirely sure why. Shop 24/7 at cherryhilljeep.com. All right, our big deal segment today comes from the morning show with Anthony Gargano, with Violations Greg, with Andrew Frazier. And the clip that I want to play for you today was with Bob Nightingale, baseball reporter, national baseball reporter for a very long time. Very locked in, has his ear to the ground with a lot of different moves and speculations and things like that. He joined Anthony today. And as I said to Andrew right before the break, it feels like if the Phillies are going to go for broke, if they're going to make a big swing, it feels like it's going to come out of the bullpen and maybe not necessarily for a position player. And I don't think it's not because they're not going to make an offer, but I think other teams will surpass their offer on position players. I think the Phillies are still going to make big offers for bullpen arms. So this was Bob Nightingale on with Anthony Gargano this morning on the morning show right here on PHLY. All right, little technical difficulties. We'll hear from Bob in just a minute. But he spoke about a bunch of different things. He spoke about bullpen. He spoke about Eugenio Suarez. He talked about O'Neal Cruz, which is an interesting name to speak about. We are good? All right, let's hear from Bob.
All right, look into the relievers that are out there. A lot of people shopping in that aisle, and there's not a ton of guys. Are the Twins going to put out Duran and Jax? Are they available?
Yeah, I don't think they'll trade both of them, but they'll trade one of them. Duran will get more than Jax, but both are good. Phillies have been all over those two guys. They've heavily scouted them. You got, Bednar from Pittsburgh. You got Ryan Helsley from St. Louis. There's not a whole lot out there. So that's about it as far as the premier relievers. But even all of them have a little bit of warts to them.
Yeah, I mean, Bednar I'm not in love with, and they want a top 5 prospect, the Pirates. What about Helsley? You like Helsley?
I do. He hasn't had as good a year as a year ago. Tough guy. And no, I like him. I think he'll fit in well. And I think he can handle Philadelphia. That's the thing. When you're in the Phillies front office, you got to worry about, first of all, just the talent, but can this guy handle Philadelphia? Yeah. There's so many great players that can't play in Philly.
So the part of the clip that I want to kind of discuss today is the Helsley part of it, because we've talked about Duran, we've talked about Jax. We haven't talked as much about Bednar. I think that we here have focused more on Dennis Santana than on David Bednar. But the Helsley part of the conversation is the interesting one, because it kind of goes back to what we were talking about on Monday when we were talking about the split between do the Phillies and Dave Dombrowski, who as a member of the Phillies organization has made it very, very clear he prefers guys with team control. It almost feels like the Phillies are going to flip the script in the next 6 months in both the trade deadline and the offseason, where it almost feels like the Phillies, whose two main things have been team control and handing out more years to keep the annual AAV down, are almost going to flip the script a little bit and perhaps take a look at guys at the trade deadline who are on expiring deals, and then come postseason with their internal candidates, perhaps spend more money per year to eliminate the additional years. And when I say that, I speak more about Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto specifically. But the Helsley thing, is really, really interesting. Because if you would have asked me 2 months ago, am I interested in Ryan Helsley? I probably would have told you not entirely. And the reason being is because A, he is on that expiring deal. I don't particularly love expiring deals. And B, he had 2 months, both June and April, where he didn't pitch much. He only pitched 8 innings in April and 8 innings in June. But he had a 4.5 ERA in April and a 4.5 ERA in June, and whips of 1.75 and 1.4. I have come around pretty significantly on Helsley over the last 2 months or so, even with June being not as good, because May he posted a 2.45 over 11 appearances, and so far in July he's posted a 1.29. And in fact, in his 3 outings since the All-Star break, he's allowed just 3 hits. He struck out 5, and he hasn't given up a single run. So Bob is correct. Helsley's year is not as good this year as it was last year. And this is kind of a similar conversation piece about Helsley that when we talked about Emmanuel Clase. Helsley was so good last year it's really hard to duplicate that a second consecutive year. Now, it wasn't Clase good. Clase was like, you're playing MLB The Show on rookie mode. Good. But Helsley was really good. 65 appearances, 49 saves, a 2.04 ERA, well over a strikeout per inning pitched, and a 1-1 whip. Helsley was getting a ton of swing and miss, wasn't getting hit, wasn't getting barreled very much, got a lot of chase. Fastball velo has been good. That's been the case with him throughout his entire career. And the walk rates, while they were still high at 8.6%, were significantly better than the year prior in 2023 when he was at 11 and 2022 where he was at 9. So the walk rates have been better for Helsley as of late. What's going on with Helsley this year, I think, that didn't happen as much last year was that when he's getting hit hard. So last year, now he was in the 32nd percentile. It wasn't like elite, but last year his average exit velocity was 89.4. This year, it's up to 91.5, and he's in the 6th percentile of average exit velocity. So when Helsley is getting hit, he's getting hit pretty hard. And it's why the hit numbers have come up a little bit. It's why the whip's gone up from 1.1 to almost 1.4. But he is trending, I think, in the right direction. So, if you look at the numbers and what he's given up, he had three appearances in which he's given up multiple earned runs this season. So if you take those, it's hard to say if you take those runs away, but even if you limit those 3 appearances of giving up 2 earned runs and make them 1 earned run instead of 2, you're now talking about a guy, instead of giving up 12 earned runs over 36 innings, you're giving up 9 earned runs over 36 innings, and that becomes an earned run every 4-ish innings, and your ERA is under 3, excuse me. I think that becomes a much more palatable, conversation to have. But with Helsley in the conversation this year specifically, it does feel like these relievers that are on expiring deals or guys that have the ability to opt out at the end of the season are going to cost teams a lot less than what these team control closers do. Whether it's Jhoan Duran, or even in not a closer's case like Griffin Jax, whether it's Mason Miller, whether it before the gambling probe, Emmanuel Clase, before the injury, Felix Bautista. So these guys that are on expiring or close to expiring deals may be becoming more enticing to some of these teams that are in pursuit of big-time bullpen arms. And I speak about Helsley. I speak about Pete Fairbanks, who has a club option for $7 million next year. I think the Phillies would probably end up picking that up, but even if they didn't, you'd be on the hook for a half a year, basically. I speak about Aroldis Chapman, who's on a 1-year deal. And then even a guy like Robert Suarez, who is in an interesting spot because the Padres really, I don't know what the Padres are going to do. They need help in a big way in a couple of different spots, but I don't know if that means they're going to leverage their best reliever, their all-star closer, in order to do it. But Suarez has the ability to opt out of his contract at the end of the year. He's set to make $8 million in each of the next 2 seasons. I would imagine after the year that he's had, he's going to get a heck of a lot more than $8 million per season. I would suggest that he probably gets closer to, 12 to 15 a year, if not more, over probably a 4-year span. So he's probably going to opt out as well. So it basically becomes a half a year rental as well for Robert Suarez. But I think if the Phillies are in a spot where they're interested in the 1-year deal or the close to 1-year deal guy, Bob brings up Ryan Helsley. The Cardinals are going in the wrong direction. The Cardinals at one point were a playoff team and were 10 games over 500. They're now down to 1 game over 500 and have found themselves leapt by the Cincinnati Reds. They are just a half a game better than the San Francisco Giants. And in fact, they're closer to teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are 6 under, the Miami Marlins, who are 4 under, than they are to the teams in playoff positioning like the Padres, the Cubs, and the Phillies. And so if they're going to make a move, it would make sense to, if they think they're not going to be a playoff team, which I would suspect they probably don't feel that they are at this point, if they're going to make a move, it would make sense to get something in return for a guy who's on an expiring deal. And the Helsley stuff starts to make a whole lot of sense. All right, let's pause for a moment. That's our big deal segment, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Cherry Hill Jeep. To get in on the greatest, the greatest and latest, I should say, the latest deals over at Cherry Hill, get you into a new Jeep as soon as today. You can head on over to cherryhilljeep.com or across any of the bridges, shop 24/7 online, or make an in-person appointment. And all you have to do is head on over, take a test drive, or complete a trade-in appraisal. You get a $100 restaurant.com gift card. All right, on the other side, I want to get into one player in particular. Oh, and by the way, the Phillies game is not going to start on time. So the White Sox have rolled the tarp out. We will keep you updated on the latest on when that game may start. But as of right now, it looks like they are not going to start that game on time. On the other side, I'm going to get to some of your comments. We're going to wrap up today's show with what you think versus what you believe is going to happen. I'll give you mine. Andrew's going to give you his, and we'll hear from you as well. And of course, we have one final mystery trade segment before the trade deadline. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Excuse me. We will be right back after this. All right, let me tell you about my casino of choice. And when I say my casino of choice, it's not just because they're a sponsor. It's not just because it's an ad read. It's because it is my hometown casino of choice. Of course, I'm telling you about my friends over at Parx Casino, located off of the Street Road exit of both I-95 and the Turnpike. I can be there in about 3 minutes, but you can be there in under an hour from pretty much any destination that you're coming from in the Pennsylvania area. Again, whether it is the Turnpike or the I-95. Wow, my brain blanked for a second. I'm thinking about trade deadlines. Can't tell you about where I live. Anyway, let me tell you about the Excite Center at Parx Casino for just a moment, because it's one of the many things I love about Parx. It is Pennsylvania's #1 casino, and the Excite Center is the state-of-the-art entertainment venue that's located right inside. It's been named one of the best places to see the country's best comedians and music headliners. Let me tell you what I love about the Excite Center. It is a smaller venue, and I don't mean small in terms of stature. I mean in terms of size. And when I say in terms of size, it means it feels like it's got a little bit of a personalized feel to it. You know, sometimes you're as far as I am to Andrew from a comedian that you love, or a band that you love, or the performer that you love, and you're that close, it feels like you have a personal connection to them. But when I say it doesn't feel small in stature, it certainly doesn't. The production value is off the charts. The lighting, the sound, and every seat in the house is a great view. So if you're looking to go for a comedy, a concert event, a theater, whatever it might be, like whatever the Parx has to offer for you, a TED Talk, you're going to get a great seat and a great venue at the Excite Center. Visit parxcasino.com to buy tickets for all of the shows. And while you're there, pregame the shows at their amazing beer garden. You can play some pop culture slots, some roulette, some card and table games at the casino as well while you wait. Head on over to, once again, parxcasino.com for all the details and ticket purchasing.
Oh, Tyler, I walked into my garage yesterday and it felt like a sauna.
Dude, I got to tell you, even for somebody who loves summer, it's getting a little ridiculous out there.
Dude, I know. So, I got 10 bags of ice, and I was going to make an ice bath because, the healing properties and all that stuff, and just to beat the heat. But when I went to go make the ice bath outside, all the bags of ice melted.
Andrew, why didn't you just, turn on your AC?
Because I'm trying to be energy efficient, Tyler.
All right, listen. Instead of trying to go through your new skincare routine, all you have to do is check out Pico's energy-saving rebates. They've got all of the deals on Energy Star cooling equipment that actually work and cut your bill.
Wait. So no more ice?
No, unless you're trying to do a polar plunge, you're good.
Now that's what's up.
Just head on over to pico.com/ways to save. They've got tips for everything. Heating, cooling, lighting, you name it. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast, brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Haven't had a chance to say hello to everybody in the chat, so I want to do that now. Peeling Onions, K-Red, Ray Schumacher, Futz. Are we back to ats again? Are YouTube's back to ats again?
It switched this morning.
What are
I
they
saw
doing,
it on Anthony's
man?
show. I don't know what's going on.
So hello to everybody. Dante, Elephant in the Room, Scott. Who else do we have? I saw One of our Golden Girls was here earlier. Blanche is here. Andrew, Vincent, everybody, thank you for being here. Mickey Durkin. If you're here, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Again, you can find our trade deadline show tomorrow at 5 o'clock, 5 to 7, right here on PHLY as we break down all of the latest news around Major League Baseball. Won't just be the Phillies moves. We'll talk about all of the moves around Major League Baseball over the next 27-ish hours or so. All right, let's get to our final mystery trade segment of the day. Andrew, it feels like we've been doing this segment for quite some time.
Yeah, it does.
I almost feel a little bit sad that this is our final episode.
I know, right?
All right, so let's get to our final mystery trade player of the day. Again, our mystery trade segment, you can get into one of three categories. You can either say definitely interested, kind of interested, or not interested at all. Here are the players' numbers that we're talking about today. 41 appearances, just shy of a 5 ERA, and I know that probably is going to scare people away in and of itself. 36 strikeouts over just under 40 innings pitched, 20 walks, a 1.5 whip, 41 hits, and probably the thing that Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies and most teams are going to value most is that not only is this a young pitcher, he is just 25 years old, but also is still in pre-arbitration for multiple years. You would have a ton of team control with this guy over the next few seasons. Now, you take a look at his Baseball Savant page. What does he do well? Well, he throws gas. There's no question about it. This guy throws heat. He's in the 100th percentile. His average fastball velocity is 100 miles an hour. He generates a lot of swing and miss, even though his strikeout rates right now are just under 21%. I think his numbers will get better as his career goes on. He does put the ball on the ground quite a bit and has a really good extension, especially for a guy who is 6'2", a little bit on the bigger side. Kind of feels like he's getting on top of you in a hurry. And the one thing that I will point out, and I think you see it there with the 20 walks and under 40 innings pitched, his walk rate right this moment is not particularly good. It's basically a walk every other inning. He's in the 10th percentile. He's walked almost 12% of his batters that he's faced. This would be the type of move, and Andrew, you and I have talked about this kind of move before. This would be the type of move that's a move and not the move. If this is the move, it doesn't move the needle nearly enough for him.
No.
But if this is a move paired with a higher leverage reliever, I think bringing in a guy like this with elite fastball stuff, who I think Caleb Cotham would love to have and work with and kind of shape and mold, kind of feels like, the early trajectory of a right-handed Jose Alvarado. Like walk rates low or walk rates high, strikeout rates could improve, throws hard. Really, this guy's more of a 3-pitch pitcher, fastball, splitter, slider. Alvarado was more of a 3-pitch pitcher in his younger days, kind of went to being a 2-pitch pitcher. This would be the type of guy that if the Phillies were able to acquire, or if any team was able to acquire, I think might help you in 2025, but is really going to help you in like 2027 when he starts to put it all together.
Yeah, I agree with you about this is a move. Now you pair him with somebody else, I would definitely be more excited about it. But yeah, I mean, he's a player.
So it was, let me see some of the comments in the chat. Dante says, not interested, don't like the walk to strikeout ratio or the ERA. And I know the ERA is a little bit high. I will say this, if it makes you feel any better, expected ERA is about a little more than a half a point better. Now, it's not great. It's still 4.3, but it makes you feel a little bit better about it. And then the second thing that I will bring up is that his ERA in July really kind of bogged him down. He gave up 7 runs in 6 innings pitched in the month of July. And in fact, if you stretch that out a little bit further, he gave up 5 earned runs in 1 game against the Boston Red Sox. So, I think that really brings the ERA. His ERA was 4.04 prior to that. After that, it was 5.3, and he's brought it back down to 4.99. This is the type of guy, again, that I think if you think he could help you, now you make the move. But I think what you're really doing is you're looking at him as a right-handed reliever for like a power arm right-handed reliever for the future. So, Andrew, which of the 3 do you fall into in this category? Because I see a lot of people saying, nah, they're not interested. Elephant in the Room said he's in if it's the player that he's thinking it is. Where do you kind of fall in this conversation?
I also kind of know who it is.
Sure. All right, prior to you not knowing.
But if prior to not knowing, I'm lukewarm on this player. But knowing who it is, I could definitely have some interest.
So, Elephant in the Room, you are correct. This is Seth Alverson from the Colorado Rockies. And I think that Caleb Cotham would do wonders for this guy. The stuff is there. The fastball, as we talked about, is the power pitch. It's an elite pitch. And I know that, like, the numbers will tell you, like, the fastball gets hit around a little bit at times. The opponents are hitting 302 off of them, but the expected batting average is almost 50 points lower over 40 points lower at 260. Not generating as much whiff as you would think for a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, but it is at 27%. The splitter is the pitch that I would be most intrigued in, because a power right-handed splitter is something that I think is really valuable in baseball. Just ask Jhoan Duran how good a power splitter can be. I really, really am intrigued by this guy. Now, I'm not giving up key prospects, and if the Rockies are asking for key prospects, which I can see why they would, but I don't think they're going to get it. If the Rockies are asking for key prospects, then you're out. But if you're talking about somebody within that like C+, B- tier, then I think that there is something, and Elephant in the Room says there's stuff to work with there. There is, for certain. I think that this kid is going to get better as his career progresses. Like I said, giving up a lot of hard contact right now, but I think that fastball splitter combo is a really, really good one. All right, so that was our mystery trade segment of the day, and that was our mystery trade segment of the trade deadline. And I hope you all enjoyed that. That was something I really looked forward to each and every day. Knowing who it was, I always love to see the reaction in the chat. We've had players that were unanimous yeses or unanimous nos, and we've had players that were like wide-ranging from heck yeah, I'm in to bleep no, I'm out. And that's what I love about the hypothetical game. That's what I love about the trade deadline. And I am going to miss doing the mystery trade player just about each and every show. All right, let's pause for just a moment. One final break here before we wrap up today's show. I'm going to give you my wants versus what I believe is going to happen. Andrew's going to do the same. And then I want to hear from you throughout the show. I know you've been dropping your comments in, but again, leave your comments about what you want the Phillies to do, and then follow up with what you think the Phillies are going to do. All right, it's the PHLY Phillies podcast brought to you by our friends over at Bet365, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. We will be right back after this. All right, whether it's something small like an outlet or something huge like your air conditioner or your heater, there is one place to go to get all of your jobs fixed properly. And that, of course, is with our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services, because they're not just the helpful hardware folks, they also are the helpful home service and repair folks as well. And whether it's an outlet and you're just not quite sure how to work with the electric, which is something that I'm guilty of. I'm not a very handy guy. Maybe you just need an outlet replaced or fixed. Ace will do that for you. But if you're struggling with your AC, I got to tell you guys, and this is just the product of an old AC unit in an old home. I was at my mom's yesterday. Andrew, you want to take a guess at what my mom's, with the AC on full blast, you want to take a guess at what the temperature was in my mom's house?
I'm going to go 68.
81 degrees. Because the AC just wasn't keeping up. And, I would say, hey, Mom, head on over to Ace Hardware Home Services if you want to just get a tune-up. Or Ace might tell you, hey, listen, Ms. Zulli, your AC needs to be fixed. And they'll do that as well. So if it's something small like an outlet, they'll fix it. If it's something huge like your AC during a heat wave, you got to check out Ace Hardware Home Services as well, because it is scorching out today, folks. Even for somebody that loves the heat, this is getting pretty hot. So at Ace Hardware Home Services, you're going to get experience, understanding, of course, the helpful hardware team that comes right to your front door, free estimates on equipment installation and replacement, a service team you can trust, and satisfaction guaranteed. So head on over to Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project today. Let me tell you about one of our newest sponsors here, and one that I will recommend for you firsthand because I was snacking on a Righteous Felon beef jerky stick just on Monday because there's some here left around in the office. It is delicious. Are you craving the perfect snack that satisfies your hunger and provides the right amount of protein to fulfill your body's daily needs? Well, we've got the solution for you. It's Righteous Felon beef jerky and meat sticks. Righteous Felon traces its roots back to the hallways of Downingtown Middle School and was officially launched by lifelong friends in their apartment kitchen after college. The Exton, PA-based company has been making all-natural, premium quality, better-for-you meat snacks for over a decade and evolved into the region's preeminent jerky brand. The packaging is fun and engaging. The flavors are bold and tantalizing. The texture, tender and soft. And these are, without question, the best meat snacks around. And we're only 5% saying that because they're paying us to. The other is firsthand experience. It was incredible. Now, if you're the kind of person who wants a deal and snacks delivered to your doorstep, you can order online at righteousfelon.com using the discount code PHLY20 for 20% off. They have all different kinds of cool variety packs and bundles on the site. It's the perfect gift for someone that loves to snack in your life. Again, the discount code PHLY20 for 20% off your order at righteousfelon.com. All right, we got about 10 minutes left in the show. I've been teasing this for long enough. Let's get to our wants versus our expectations. And Andrew, I will start, and then I will get yours as well.
Let's do it.
Let's start with our wants. Our wants and our expectations to kind of bring this thing full circle. Mm-hmm. Actually, before I do this, let me ask you, are your wants and expectations in the same spot or are they in different spots?
I mean, I think my want is a realistic expectation. I think it's something that can definitely happen, but
because your want happens to be a power bat.
It's a power bat,
right?
Yes. But I also do believe, listening to everybody that's been talking about the Phillies and kind of where their mindset is, I do believe it's going to be a relief pitcher that they're going to be going for. So my expectation is a relief pitcher, but my want is definitely that bat.
All right. So here is my want. My want is Griffin Jax.
Yeah.
I've talked about Griffin Jax.
That's my expectation.
A ton. What's that?
That's my expectation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So my want is Griffin Jax. And the reason that my want is Griffin Jax is because I think he's going to cost you a little less than Jhoan Duran will, as Bob Nightingale pointed out. Duran, I think, if they move Duran, it's going to be for as close to that top, what they say, 2 top 100 players, I think they asked for. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be as close to that as possible. I think Jax probably goes for a little bit less. I think Jax is still going to be expensive, and the return is going to be sizable, but I think it's going to be manageable enough that the Phillies and many other teams will be super interested in acquiring a player like Griffin Jax. So my want is for Jax to come in and be a high-leverage reliever out of the bullpen. That's your right-handed high-leverage reliever. Now, I don't think that means that Jax immediately becomes your de facto closer, like it would if you were to acquire Duran or Miller or, again, like Clase before, or Helsley for that matter. My want is Griffin Jax. What is your want player?
Eugenio Suarez.
Kind of figured it might be.
I want him so, and I was just about to curse there. So bad.
So bleeping bad.
So bleeping bad. Screw the bullpen. This just put runs up on teams and drown them out. Because I think a lineup with the top 4 being Turner, going into Harper, going into Suarez, and then going into Schwarber is something that a lot of teams would freak out over. Sure. When you got 2 guys that are on pace for 50 home runs on the same team, hitting back-to-back, that is scary. And what gets added to that, and I think is, I almost think it's I don't want to say overlooked because it's something we've talked about a lot, but it's something that I think is significant. You couldn't bring in lefties against that 3. No, you couldn't.
And really against that 4, because Trey Turner, obviously, just basically hits against everybody this season at least. Yeah. But Bryce Harper has done damage this year against left-handed pitching. He has 17 RBIs, 6 home runs, a respectable, especially from the same side, 259 and a slug of 466 against lefties is very respectable. The other part about it, obviously, Kyle Schwarber dominates left-handed pitching this year. And now you've got, then you would add to the fold a Eugenio Suarez, and I don't know his exact splits, but my expectation would be power hitting right-handed bat, probably hits better against lefties than he does against righties. We'll find that for you in just a moment. But if that's your 2, 3, 4, oh, actually, you know what? I'm mistaken. My apologies. Suarez has actually struggled a little bit against lefties this year. Now, he does have 11 home runs against them, but he's only hitting 179.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is.
He's hitting 271 against right-handed pitching.
But even still, him being kind of sandwiched in between those guys, I think will help that
the
out.
argument still stands, even though maybe it wasn't as airtight as I had once initially thought.
Yeah.
But then you could say, all right, so bring in a righty. If Suarez is good against righties, then you got the 2 lefties against the righty. You still feel good about that too.
Yeah, of course.
So I think what he provides you is just elite level balance. Mm-hmm. You know, and we've talked about like there's gonna be a week where Suarez strikes out 12 times in a week. You're gonna be like, dude, you gave up X, Y, and Z for this guy, and then the next week he's gonna hit 7 home runs in a week. And you're gonna go, that's why you did it.
That is exactly why. Yeah.
The defense. I've come around on the defense conversation a little bit because at this point, like, just go outslug teams.
Yeah, exactly.
It's concerning. There's no doubt about it. Like, Suarez at third is not a good third baseman. And that means that, you know, if Bohm's not in the conversation, are you moving Bohm to first? He's not a very good... He's become a much better defensive third baseman. I got to give him a lot of credit for that. But is he becoming is he a good first baseman? Not particularly. Does that mean Harper moves back to the outfield? Do you want that? Like he said, he'll do it.
Yeah.
But in terms of preserving Harper's longevity, do you want that? Do you move Schwarber back to the left field? Do you want that?
He likes
Not
playing.
really.
He likes playing the field.
I know he likes playing the field. I like having money. I don't have any, but I like having money.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, I don't want him in the field.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like if the defense is the biggest holdup, I think you can look past it for half a season.
I think so too.
All right, so your want is Eugenio Suarez. What's your objective take? What do you think is your think? What do you think they're going to do?
I think they're going to go for a relief pitcher. I think that is what they want to do. It's just who are they going to go for? I think that they are tied with Jax. I think I've heard a lot from multiple sources that Jax is their guy, or Duran. You know, I think that he also might be someone that they're looking at. But I think in the top of their mind, the relief pitcher is the biggest thing because I think I
tend to agree.
I feel that they believe that they can get away with their offense now if they had the support in the bullpen.
Okay. So I do still think their priority is bullpen, and I do think they're going to address it. But because I did a reliever for my want, I'm going to say for the expectation or the think, I think that the Phillies still end up acquiring a player in the outfield of the like threshold of Ramon Laureano. It's a player that we talked. So I went back and I looked at when did we talk about Ramon Laureano? It was June 30th. It was a month ago.
Literally a month ago, yeah.
And we talked about what he would do for this team, which would be a stabilizer, a good defender, having a power surge year a little bit in Baltimore. I don't think if you said to me they got Ramon Laureano to bolster their offense, I don't go, wow, that's amazing. But I go, that's a good move. You know, depending on what they give up, that's a good move. It gives you another, good veteran bat who's having himself a decent year. So I think if they're going to get a position player, I think it's of that ilk. If they're going to get a bullpen piece, I could see anybody from middle relief to legitimately Jhoan Duran.
Yeah.
Like, if I think about position player, I think there's a pretty finite area that they're going to go. If I think about, unless it's Eugenio Suarez. If I think about bullpen, like, they could go for broke and they could not. All right. Were we able to get any chatters that we can post?
We had a couple.
I want to see what people's expectations versus their wants. I will say this. I've seen a couple of people talk about different Angels. I'm not sure the Angels are going to be sellers.
Joe Adell.
So between Adell and Taylor Ward, I'm not sure that the Angels are going to be sellers at the deadline. We'll talk more about it on the other side. Thank you to everybody who's watching on our streaming platforms, whether it be Roku, Samsung, any of our streaming platforms. We appreciate you. Head on over to allphly.com to watch the rest of the show because it is officially time for overtime.
Or extra innings. In this case.
Yeah, so the Angels right now are an interesting team because I think the Angels ownership group is tired of losing. I think the Angels fans are tired of losing.
I agree. Yeah.
I don't think the Angels are good enough to compete in the playoff level.
But at the same time, I don't think they want to get rid of a guy like Joe Adell, who they've waited so long to finally see flourish.
Sure.
And now that he's finally becoming the player that
they're not just going to move him.
They're not going to just, they're not, yeah, exactly.
Taylor Ward might be moved because he only has the 1 year of arbitration left. Joe Adell has plenty of team control remaining. I think you're right. I think they're finally reaping the benefits of like high elite level prospect Joe Adell becoming the player that they expected him to be.
Yeah.
Because you remember there was a time where like who were the two big power bat names in the farm systems? It was Joe Adell and it was Jared Kelenic. And Kelenick's become an okay like fourth outfielder, but they've both kind of had underwhelming careers to this point. Adell's having a much better year this season. All right, let's pinpoint a couple of the chatters because I really appreciate everybody who's been along with us so far. Let's start. Elephant in the room says Tyler O'Neill. O'Neill is I've been back and forth on O'Neill quite a bit. I think I was more interested in O'Neill last year than I am this year. Currently hitting .218. 7 home runs, 21 RBI. Obviously hasn't played a ton of games. Has only played 39 games this year. Austin, who hit 31 home runs, even though he struck out quite a bit, I was much more intrigued with than the Tyler O'Neill coming off of the injury. I would say no to Tyler O'Neill. Just me personally. And now I don't know if that's elephant in the room saying a want or an expectation, but I would say no. Vince said, I believe talking about David Bednar, says Bednar, but I'd take Santana too. Right-handed bat, take Adolis Garcia, or maybe Laureano from Baltimore. We talked about Laureano. I do think Laureano is very much in play for the Phillies in the next day or so. Adolis Garcia, I'm not quite sure that the Rangers are going to move. I think the Rangers still think they can compete as well. Plus, unless the Rangers are trying to move salary, because I was sitting watching the DLLS Rangers podcast the other day, and they were talking about how basically the Rangers, who 3 years ago had like Manchester United type money, now they're broke and they don't have any money to spend. So unless they're trying to get off of it's not a really bad contract, but unless they're trying to get off of Adolis Garcia's contract, I just don't think they're going to. Dennis Santana, I'm extremely interested in. David Bednar, I've come around on a little bit. It was a really bad beginning of the year to the point where they sent him to AAA. Since he's returned, he's been much better. But I'm not giving up a top 5 prospect for David Bednar. Scott jokingly says they're going to trade for Brogdon and Mickey Moniak. Well, Moniak is actually having kind of a good year. Now, I will say he's doing it in Colorado. We've talked about him before. The power surge has probably been more about playing in Colorado than it has been about Mickey Moniak playing better. If you acquire Connor Brogdon, you should immediately be fired. That's just that's my rule.
I do not need that back.
And I'm not talking about the Phillies. If anybody trades for Connor Brogdon at the trade deadline, they should not have a job on August 1st.
Oh, I couldn't watch that.
I know Scott's joking, but yeah. Ray Schumacher says would love Mason Miller. Wouldn't say no to a Helsley Arenado, I assume, combination. Helsley I'm in on, and I think I've laid out why I'm in on Helsley because of the, and again, I'm not a huge expiring deal guy, but I do think in this particular instance, it actually may be a pathway for the Phillies to take. Mason Miller, I don't think Mason Miller is going to get moved this year. I'll be honest with you, I've said this before, I don't think the A's are going to move a lot of their top tier talent, right? They've got a lot of really good young talent under team control. They're not performing this season. Their record's not very good. They did at one point lose Andrew, what was it, 20 of 21 games or something ridiculous the A's lost? That really kind of put them out of contention. But you think about the young group that they have. Kurtz is nasty.
Got a lot of,
Wilson, nasty. Soderstrom, Langoliers can both play. They've locked up Brent Rooker long term. He seems like he wants to
very
be with
bright
the A's.
Future.
And, of course, Mason Miller is a part of that. They're going to need starting pitching in a big way. But I think the A's have a pretty bright future, and I do believe that they're probably going to hold on to most of their young guys. I know that Futz follows up, said would overpay for Miller, but the price are too high for anyone else I like. And I think that I would overpay for Duran if I'm overpaying for anybody. A little bit more of a track record than Miller, slightly, not much, but a little bit more. as a proven back-end closer. I've talked plenty about how much I think the splitter is one of the most elite pitches in baseball. If you said to me, you're overpaying for one reliever, I would overpay for Duran before I overpaid for Miller. Let's see. Again, these ats are killing me because I know everybody's like, it's like screen names, Andrew, in on AOL. Like I know everybody's like handle, but I don't know, or I know everybody's name, but I don't know their handle.
Their handle, yeah.
So I apologize to our next comment, the one down the bottom. I'm actually having a tough time reading that. Is that Art?
Art, yeah.
Art says like Helsley and Kwan. Like Helsley, I'm assuming like Helsley, feel like it might be Kwan. John Heyman reported that the Guardians are definitely looking to move Stephen Kwan and Shane Bieber as well, actually. Says the Padres and Reds and Dodgers right now are in the Stephen Kwan sweepstakes. He adds that the Phillies and Red Sox are among the teams that are most prominently in on Jhoan Duran. So we're really just in rumor mill portion of the trade deadline.
The Guardians have got to be in a weird spot because it's almost like they're going to get forced into a rebuild.
What I almost feel like is this Clase stuff kind of made the decision for them.
Yeah.
And I think they had a good team, but I do think that they maybe overperformed a little bit last year in the postseason. But I think they have a lot of good pieces. So here's my question with Cleveland. What are you going to do? You're going to move on from Kwan. You're going to move on from Bieber. You're going to move on from, do you move a Gaddis? Do you move a Cade Smith? You've already lost Clase potentially forever. So what are you going to do? You're going to have this young rebuilding team and Jose Ramirez?
Seems like it.
If I were Jose Ramirez at that point, I'd ask for a trade.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely.
If that's the case, I would ask for a trade.
Because that's like 5 years down the road.
Right. So if they are going to rebuild, if I'm him, I'm like, dude, first and foremost, Jose Ramirez's contract is actually a pretty good one. If I'm going to pull it up in just a second, I think it's a pretty good contract. So it was 7 years, $141 million. So he's owed 19 next year, 21, 23, 25. That's really reasonable for an elite level player. Like you're talking about 4 years at $88 million. $22 million a year for Jose Ramirez? That's a steal. That's a steal. And I know he's going to be 33 next year, but like he's not shown any signs of slowing down. All right, just a couple of more before we get out of here. Who else do we have? Can you grab me two more, Andrew? We'll talk two more. All right, let's talk about Peeling Onions. I know Peeling Onions has been banging the drum for Aroldis Chapman for weeks now. And the Red Sox... The Red Sox have had a little bit of a surge, or had a little bit of a surge. They're 7 games over 500. They're up 2-1 on Minnesota right now, so they would be 8 games over 500 at the trade deadline at 59 and 51. And it would put them just a half game back of the Yankees. They are in the final wild card spot right now in the American League. I'm not sure that the Red Sox end up selling, or at least I'm not sure they end up moving Chapman because they're going to feel like they need him down the stretch. And it feels like for Peeling Onion says expectation is Stephen Kwan. My pulse on the Stephen Kwan thing has actually kind of died out a little bit over the last couple of weeks, and not because I don't want him. If they acquired Stephen Kwan, I'd be thrilled. I've laid that out numerous times. I think they're not going to go get Kwan by himself. But if they're willing to throw Hunter Gaddis into the mix, I would do it. If you could do Kwan and Gaddis for, Justin Crawford and Mick Abel, I would make that deal. I don't know if the Guardians would make that deal, but I certainly would. All right, let's do one more before we get out of here. K-Red says, want Luis Robert because he should come relatively cheap. Well, I would tend to agree should, but I will say this, K-Red, the White Sox have maintained that if they don't get the asking price they're looking for, they're going to pick up the $20 million option next year. And I think teams are just going to have to either call their bluff or not. And I don't think Robert ends up getting traded. But that's going to end today's show. Thank you so much for everybody who was a part of it today. Really appreciate your contribution in both the chat and throughout this last segment. Really appreciate you all. Tomorrow, 2-hour show, 5 to 7. myself, Andrew Frazier, Rich Hoffman, will be here breaking down all the latest trades across baseball. We'll see what the Phillies do. We'll see what Dave Dombrowski has up his sleeve. And again, if anything happens in between the second that we get off the air and the second that we get on the air at 5 o'clock, we will have an emergency podcast. If it's 3 a.m, I'll do it. I don't care if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and a trade gets facilitated. I'll be up and ready to do it. So big thank you to everybody in the chat. We will talk to you tomorrow. A huge thank you to Andrew Frazier for producing and co-hosting. Really excited for our trade deadline special tomorrow evening. Switch on over to the PHLY Eagles podcast. They're live now. And then, of course, the PHLY Sixers show will end today's festivities at 3 o'clock. We'll be back with you tomorrow for the live trade deadline show, and then again on Friday at 1 o'clock. Until that time, we'll keep you updated. Stay locked into Twitter. Stay locked into our emergency pods, and we'll be back at 5 o'clock tomorrow right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. Talk to you then.
We all silly like the mayor.